Hmm, I wonder, why do the Dutch wear those silly looking wooden shoes? And for that matter, how do they keep the water out? If this sounds like you and you've asked yourself some of these questions before, that's what I'm here for today. I'm going to be answering some top commonly asked questions about the Dutch. Stick around and we'll get right into it. Hi, guys! Whether I'm a new face on your screen or you've seen me before, my name is Erin, and today we'll be going over some commonly asked questions about the Dutch. Now, I'm half Dutch and half American, so some of these questions I've personally been asked throughout my lifetime when people figure out that I'm Dutch. Because let's be honest, most people aren't going to know that I'm Dutch just based on how I speak. But that is completely okay. And, I'm happy to answer these questions. Now, you might be familiar with this style of a video as you've probably seen some popular YouTube channels already do this sort of style. And I don't mean to copy their style, but I figured it would be a fun way to answer some of your questions that, you might have had about the Dutch people, which is completely okay, and I'm hoping this video is educational as well as fun for you guys. Let's start with the first one, shall we? Why do the Dutch? So the first one is, why do the Dutch wear wooden shoes? Well, if you don't know, these wooden shoes are actually called clogs. And yes, they are actually fully wooden. There is no elastic, no rubber, no any sort of other component other than paint and lacquer on top of carved wood. Now, there's a couple of reasons why they wear these, and it mainly is because the Netherlands is a fairly wet country most of the time, and so they've found that these shoes are pretty water resistant, especially once they've gotten that finished like paint or glaze over the top of them. And they've been shown to actually be pretty good for treading across like wet and mushy dirt, which is pretty beneficial when we rain a lot. And I do mean a lot. And part of that is also because we are right next to the ocean. But yeah, no. A lot of farmers used to wear these, and they still do. Even gardeners will wear them today. But most of the time, you won't see like the average everyday person wearing clogs anymore. But they're still cool to have around, and in fact, I even have a decorative pair that I like to display here in my own home. Why do the Dutch like orange? Well, there are, again, a couple of reasons why they like orange. One of it is because it's the national color of the Netherlands. Another reason why we love the color orange is because of King William the Orange. Orange was literally in his name. And the reason why we love him so much is because he led the revolt against the Spanish. Ever since have just liked the color orange, and we wear it with pride. Our last question under this category is, why do the Dutch like tulips? And there's a couple of reasons, but a lot of it is that when tulips were imported into the Netherlands, it was found that our soil and our climate was perfectly suitable to grow them. And so we did. You're probably used to seeing a picturesque view of a windmill with rows and rows and rows of tulips of multiple different colors. And, well, I'm gonna say that that is not a lie. If you do go to the Netherlands during certain times of the year, you will actually see fields and fields of tulips, and it's really beautiful. So, our second category is, when do the Dutch? The next question is, when do the Dutch celebrate Christmas? Now, this might come as a little bit of a shocker for some of you who aren't familiar with how the Dutch celebrate Christmas, but we actually celebrate over the course of 2 days, and that is the 25th and the 26th. Now, we do have Christmas Eve, so on the 24th, just like we do for Americans, but the 24th is mostly about attending church or, attending more religious gatherings. Over the 25th and the 26th, It's actually called first day of Christmas and second day of Christmas. It's so that way you can spend time with both sides of the family and don't have to compromise or see both on the same day. Or if you only see one family or no one else, you get another day to recuperate from the big family dinner that you might have had on the 25th. Or, more time off to enjoy to yourself. Our last question in this category is, when do the Dutch go on holiday? Now, this one was a little open for interpretation because I wasn't quite sure if they meant like on vacation in terms of when do the Dutch on average like to take their vacation, so if they want to go on a holiday, or if they meant like federal holidays. I went with federal holidays. Honestly, people are probably taking vacations any time of the year that aren't a part of a federal holiday, so I figure that this would be the better route to go with. So in terms of federal holidays, which is New Year's Eve, Easter, and Good Friday. We have them all on the same day that we would here in America. And I'm only referencing America as an example, so it could be different from where you're from. So the days that they actually have holidays for that are not the same as it would be in America is the 27th of April, which is King's Day, May 5th, which is Liberation Day, and then we have a holiday 40 days after Easter, which is called Ascension Day, and then another holiday that is 7 weeks after Easter, which is called Pentecost. And then, of course, the 25th and the 26th of December for Christmas. So this next category is, where do the Dutch? With the first question being, where do the Dutch originate from? Now, I did take this question two ways because it wasn't fully clear what they meant by where do the Dutch originate from. And this was also one of those questions that just got asked over and over and over again. But I decided to answer both of the meanings. And we'll start with, where are the Dutch from? And if you don't know, that is completely okay. They're from a country called the Netherlands, which is located right next to Germany, but right above Belgium. I'll even throw a little picture up so it's a little bit easier to imagine where it is. As for the other iteration of this question, which would be where do they originate from in terms of like historical origin, it's not fully clear, but a lot of people believe that they are a mix of Frisians, Saxons, and Franks. And the next one is, where do the Dutch vacation? Now, I am going to throw some statistics up from cbs.nl, and I will also throw up the charts that I am referencing, just so that way you have a physical representation too that you can see. It's estimated, at least according to the 2021 survey, that 45% of Dutch people actually take their vacations right here in the Netherlands. They don't leave, and that is completely okay. I mean, can't say that I've ever taken vacations here in America, which I have. There's a lot of places to explore, and so honestly, I don't blame those that like to take their vacation in the Netherlands. Now, that being said, the other 55% of the Dutch population, they tend to go to Germany, followed by France. All right, so for this topic, we'll be going over how do the Dutch. But our first one is, how do the Dutch pronounce Gouda? Now, I know a lot of you just cringed out there that are watching this if you know how it's actually pronounced, but as an American, you probably didn't notice anything weird about how I said that. Gouda tends to be the American pronunciation, or at least how Americans say it, because with how our language works, Gouda makes the most sense phonetically, which then means that Gouda is actually Gouda. You gotta kind of get that guttural G in there. It's Gouda, and it's not Gouda. It's not Gouda either. For the next question, it's, how do the Dutch keep the water out? Now, this one was a little confusing to me as it is very open-ended, and I just assumed that they were talking about the fact that the Netherlands is below the sea level. If you didn't know that, now you do. A lot of places are either below the sea level or only at most like 3 feet above the sea level. So point being, we flood. And we flood a lot. Or at least we used to. Although I do think we still sometimes flood, but not nearly as often as we did way back when. And a lot of that is because we have now started using pumps and levees and dams and a lot of newly developed ways into blocking out the water to keep it out of our land. One of the main projects that actually is aiming to help with this flooding is actually called the Delta Project. I actually suggest that you look it up. It's really interesting on what they've been doing, especially when some of the bigger storms come in that threaten to flood and wipe out the land, especially since the major flood of 1953. They've been helping to manage the water, not fully control it, as sometimes things just can't be controlled. But we work with it and we try to move it around in a way that's most natural for it to move without, being destructive to what we've built and to the lives of other people. All right, so the next topic is, do the Dutch? The first one is, do the Dutch eat a lot of fish? And you would think that they would, because they are bordering the ocean and have one of the largest land borders with the ocean. But actually, in the entirety of Europe, they're only ranked 12th on that list for fish consumption. But the national average of fish consumption is going up and has been going up over the last couple of years. And there might be a couple of reasons for that, but it's been going up little by little, at least according to the JFK, which reported in 2021 to 2022. This next question is, do the Dutch eat horse? The Dutch do eat horse, and I myself have had horse in the past too. It's a common product in the Netherlands, I'd say, including like for lunch meat and whatnot. But yes, we do eat horse, but we've been seeing a decline in consumption of horse, so that might be a good thing. All right, and the last one is, do the Dutch celebrate Christmas twice? The answer is no. The Dutch don't celebrate Christmas twice. I'm assuming they must have gotten confused with a different holiday that happens in December called the Feast of St. Nicholas, or Sinterklaas as I know it. That happens usually on the 5th, the eve of the 5th into the 6th. Now, I remember this holiday well because I remember getting candy like chocolates in my shoes, which if you're ever curious about how Christmas works, including the, the Feast of St. Nicholas, let me know in the comments and I will make a video in the future answering those questions too. But yeah, no, the other possibility that people might have been asking this question about is, do the Dutch celebrate Christmas twice? Is that they might have been thinking that we celebrated Christmas again on the 26th, following the 25th. It's not really celebrating again, as more of a continuation of Christmas. I've already explained before that we have the first day of Christmas and the second day of Christmas. So no, in short, the Dutch don't celebrate Christmas twice. Alright guys, so I hope you enjoyed today's video answering some of the top Googled questions about the Dutch. Let me know if you have any questions of your own, I'd love to answer them. And if you liked this video, go ahead, like and subscribe, as well as hit that bell icon over in the corner. I'll see you guys around. Until next time!